Hello, my name is Stasia. I'm content manager at SE Ranking, and I'm happy to announce the start of our marketing marathon with the headline, How to Stop Panicking and Start Taking Action. We came up with the idea of the marathon when we realized how confused and uncertain our friends, our clients, and we, to be honest, are about what we should do to keep our business afloat during the times of crisis. We decided to gather digital marketing experts who have experience building the marketing strategy through tough times. And we've been lucky to have found 5 people who agreed to participate in our marathon and to share their expertise with you. Our first guest is Ghergich, Chief Technology Officer at Brado. One more thing before I give the word to AJ is that please ask your questions, because this is your chance to ask an expert for an advice. So don't be shy, participate, ask for an advice. And for the best question that AJ will choose in the end of the session, we will give you 1 month optimum subscription to SE Ranking platform. Yeah, so that's basically it. Ready, steady, go, AJ.
I'm going to share my desktop here and go into presentation mode. Okay, so I am AJ Ghergich. I am the Chief Technology Officer of Brado, and you're probably thinking that's pretty ironic. You couldn't get your audio to work, but I'll have to just take this one on the chin. Brado is a brand growth firm. We focus primarily on health and life sciences, but we have clients across the board, everything from CPG to clients like Verizon, Salesforce, even Google is a client for our market research team. The team that I lead particularly is the digital intelligence team at Brado. So we focus on SEO, content marketing, paid media, and data science. My background is SEO. Some of you may know me from Twitter. I'm at SEO on Twitter, been in the SEO game a long time. I'm not a day-to-day paid media practitioner, but like I said, I run our paid media team from a leadership perspective, and Brado is a Google Premier partner for paid media. So I'm going to give you guys some of the thoughts and advice that we've been giving out to clients right now while the world's turned upside down on how you can move forward with paid media. And then we're going to get to some Q&A, and you can, as a bonus, if you have any additional SEO questions that are burning, I can also answer those as well. So let's go ahead and get started. And please feel free to type questions as we're going, and please interrupt and say, hey, somebody's confused or have a question in the middle of this. It's no problem. So I have a few stats that I want to share that we've been collecting either directly from Google with our Premier partnership, or that we've put together ourselves over the last few weeks. One of the things that in this market, I want you guys to think a lot about your customer's mindset. So coronavirus right now is literally kind of the last thing on people's mind when they go to bed, and the first thing on their mind when they wake up. It's a really interesting thing to see. And it even started in February and March. We were already seeing people at bed at night, kind of checking to see what's going on late at night, and then first thing in the morning checking again on coronavirus. And it's only gotten more and more, I would say, worse, or the interest has grown since this chart. So what are consumers right now trying to do? Right now, we're trying to combat boredom because we're all stuck at home, or mostly stuck at home. So you can start to see Google is indexing, things to do at home is going, is trending. I saw the other day that searches in the US for ukulele lessons were trending. I guess maybe the ukulele is small and people want a new hobby, but I thought that was kind of funny. But things like to combat our boredom, I think everyone in the world is watching Tiger King, which is leading probably to our internet connectivity problems. So Here's another stat of just media consumption that I thought was interesting as well. They're estimating that 60% increase in streaming and about an 80% increase in gaming and app downloads. Those stats are directly from China during February. So the reason why we look to China is they've already kind of gone through the worst of this, hopefully. And so we're kind of in the throes of it. So we should be able to expect similar patterns that media consumption will go up, and then apps, and I'm sure we can all attest to TikTok and YouTube and mobile gaming going up. Looking again at China, you can look again at where sectors are going to be most affected. So this is again straight from Google, and it's pulled from the National Bureau of Statistics. Retail sales obviously affected. Anything in hospitality, home sales, construction, everything's kind of grinding to a halt. I like looking at data from areas, like if you want to know what's going to happen in an area as it goes into a stay-at-home order, or you want to see what's going to happen in an area, just look at another region. In the United States, we would look at a state. If you want to know what might happen, and I live in Missouri, in St. Louis, if they issue stronger lockdown orders here, people will behave just like they did in New York when they issued those orders, right? So you can start to see patterns from where the virus has already been impacted, and what make pretty good assumptions at what industries are going to be mostly affected. You can start to see even early on through middle of March, people were starting to search for bottled water, food supplies, emergency food supplies. My parents were military background, so I was an Army brat growing up. And I remember in the kind of a week or two ago, I was like, maybe I should get some of these MREs, which are meals ready to eat. They are little packets that military gets, and the food lasts forever. And we would normally take them camping with the kids and stuff like that, but you can't get them. They're sold out. They're sold out everywhere. And there's nothing to buy. And many of these places, any of the food supply, all that has been sold out. And I'll get to, you're probably like, okay, well, why am I going over these types of things? I'm going over these types of things because I want to get into the mindset of your customer. And we're going to talk a bit about 3 steps that you can do to right now that I believe to kind of get back to a recovery status with your clients and your customers. But one of those big steps, and we'll talk about it towards the end, is just understanding their mindset. Here was another stat too, which is, what are people wanting to do in their spare time, but they're being impacted. Obviously going out to eat, going to the movies, shopping, concerts, sporting events are top of people's list of things that they kind of wish that they would be able to do, but they're being impacted and they can't do. So the good thing is while we're all connected, we have an opportunity to get into the heads of people we're disconnected from physically. So you can start to see, like, what is your customers' wants, desires, what industries might be impacted next. And there's a lot of stats out there that we can use to generate some hypothesis for our current market. So I mentioned we're going to talk today just about 3 steps. I'm going to keep things pretty simple. Step 1 is to reset everything. So, and this is going to get into just now specifics of thinking about marketing. Those first stats were just, this is the headspace your consumer is in. Everybody's in this kind of headspace right now. Now, what do you do about it? So step 1 is to reset. And so this is one of the things I've been talking to our clients about. What worked in January is not going to work today. So, and really, honestly, depending on where you're at in the world, what worked in February isn't going to work today. So what I mean by that, I mean, throw out all of your previous customer learnings. Just throw them out the window and reset your mind for now for the new normal. If you don't do that, you're going to make some mistakes because those tactics and those understandings of your customer were working and you were doing your job and you really understood and you have all that. Maybe don't throw it out as in literally delete it into the digital trash bin, but set it aside because they're no longer relevant. This is a global event. It is the new normal, and you need to understand how to market and how to speak to people in this situation, and it's a completely different one. So you have to set aside your previous learnings and kind of hit that reset button. One of the first things that we're doing with clients right now, and I suggest you to do, either if you're a solo practitioner or if you're running an agency or working at an agency, is review all your existing marketing messages through a COVID-19 lens. So you need to do an audit of all the emails, the landing pages, the ad copy, the marketing collateral, everything from a banner ad to video creative. Also go into your marketing automation workflows. There may be email triggers in a HubSpot or a Salesforce that are sending messages that are kind of tone deaf right now. We've been going through client by client, sanitizing, for lack of a better word, all of these messages, because in a pre-COVID-19 world, you would say, like, oh, we're here to help, call us anytime. Well, maybe their customer service line is not in operation, and the only way you can reach is chatbot, or maybe they don't have customer service at all right now because everyone is work from home. Sanitize those messages and quickly kind of stop sending out messages that are tone deaf and that look like you're not being reactive to the current situation. It is some work, and many things you're going to have to just pause them until you can recreate those creatives. But it's better to pause it than send out, an ad with 10 people laughing and hugging and doing all this, things that you can't do right now as your main creative copy. And so it's not the sexiest of advice, but it's what you need to be doing right now, is auditing those existing marketing messages and sanitizing them for COVID-19. So
we agreed that I can address some of the questions from our users right when
yes, please.
So we got the questions about this thing of adjusting your content strategy to the agenda now. So but how can local business act in this situation? What would you suggest doing for like some? So local business wasn't specified here. But
oh, okay. Yeah. So just anecdotally, the businesses that in my local city that I'm actually feeling really connected to are just the ones that are putting up simple messages. When I go to the homepage, a little pop-up will come up and say, hey, here's how we're handling COVID-19. Many of the restaurants here in St. Louis, for instance, are offering free curbside pickup or like no contact delivery. So you can order from a local restaurant and they will deliver it to your door and then just text you that it's been delivered. So you can do contactless delivery. I know that not everybody's in the restaurant industry and not everything's applicable, but I think just speaking to your community, if you're local, you know that community and you know the local rules and where you're at. Are you guys locked in the house 100%? Are you kind of are people still able to move about? And you should change and tweak those messages to your current environment. Same everything from, like I said, from ad copy to web copy, but in the beginning, like, you can't do it all. So just having some message up there. When I first go to your page, there should be something, whether it's a little banner ad, if you're using like what you would normally use is like an opt-in, hey, sign up for this or whatever. Get a message out there of what your response is. Make it succinct and easy for them to understand. A, I can't interact with you right now. We'll be back in 3 weeks. B, yes, I can interact with you, but this is how, that kind of thing. A lot of restaurants I've noticed are partnering with like Uber Eats and Grubhub to do no contact delivery, and they weren't doing it before. So they have that message up there. There's a lot of Facebook groups being started in my town where people are sharing which restaurants, like local restaurants, not chains, but normally wouldn't do food delivery, but they are now. One restaurant was giving out, if you order the family meal, they give you a free roll of toilet paper and a margarita. So I don't know if I don't know if that's legal or advisable, but it's nice to see people showing some spirit and heart in this environment and just speaking to their community. So that, I don't know if that really helps. And if you have a specific example, we can probably address it in the Q&A. Okay, so again, remove anything. Step one, remove anything that's just it's insensitive. And you'll start finding them. I mean, we were finding them all over the place in all of our clients. It's a different world, and we were speaking very differently in all of our marketing messages than we would now. And so kind of removing and pausing, hitting the pause button on a lot of that stuff is important, and then quickly replacing it with something that is more tone appropriate for today. I wanted to share with you guys, so this is directly from our premier partners at Google. This is what they've given their media team. So they've created 5 principles to guide their media teams during COVID-19. And so the 5 principles are context, constantly reassess, consider creative, change priorities, and to contribute or really just be mindful at every opportunity. But I thought the questions that they asked were really good. So if you look at the context one on the far left, is this campaign right given the current context? Especially, and to the questions point, is it right in a local market? You're going to find that many times the answer is no, it is not. Pause it. Don't even think twice about it. Pause it and take a minute and make sure you have a message that you feel okay about, and that is context appropriate. Constantly reassess, because as this shifts, different states are in different situations in the United States, different areas of the country are in different situations. Right now in China, they're kind of coming out of this on the other side. You would talk to that market very differently than you would New York City right now, who's just really getting hammered, and they're just in the throes of hopefully the worst of it, so we can move to recovery. So constantly reassess your messages. Think again about those creatives, all those stock photos and videos or non-stock photos, hopefully, of videos of people laughing and high-fiving and hugging and putting their shoulder on you behind you, your workstation. None of that makes sense right now. Pause it, and then hopefully replace it with something more appropriate. Same thing. Well, I'll let you read. You guys can read the questions yourself, and we'll share the deck out afterwards. But I just thought that these were really good questions. These are the questions Google's media team is asking of themselves before they either, if they hit pause on a campaign or they create something net new, they're asking these questions. So I thought that it would be appropriate to share with you guys as kind of like fodder for how you should go through the steps of deciding what to do or what's appropriate in this market. So step 2 here is remarketing. This is the #1 thing we are advising all of our clients to do right now. Not that they weren't doing remarketing before, but there's a subtle tweak to it. So this is the dead simplest tactic in the world that you can use, but it's going to be really effective and save you a bunch of money. So the tactic you should embrace right now is to increase the duration period of your remarketing tracking and pixels. So a lot of times in a pre-COVID-19 world, you maybe wouldn't want those remarketing pixels to age where the duration was 90 days, 120 days. You kind of wanted those shorter windows, 7 days. You know, like I want to keep touch with somebody, but after that, I don't want to. I'm going to lose the scent of it, and I don't want to just keep hounding someone for 180 days type thing. That should also go out the window. So here's why. The main two reasons are we're seeing, so we manage, millions of dollars to spend across many accounts, right? So, or tens of millions, hundreds of millions of dollars to spend. But what we're seeing across the board pretty much is that costs are going down, which means people are pausing ads as they should do. I mean, we're pausing some too, where that's not appropriate, it's tone deaf, pause it, and then eventually we'll replace it. But some people are just exiting the market altogether, which is understandable. If you're in construction, aviation, food, restaurant business, hospitality, hotels, there's reasons why people are pulling out. But that combined effect is it's taking all cost per clicks and CPMs down. So we're seeing it go down, 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 down. So paid media right now is very, very cheap. But inversely, web traffic is at an all-time high. So you have costs going this way and demand going this way, right? And so you get that supply chain across that X of equilibrium. So in a market like this, what you want to do is you want to gobble up as much of that paid media traffic now, paid social, all of it. So gobble up as much of that traffic as you can, because later you will be able to remarket to them for very, very cheap, like fractions. So let's say it costs $1 to talk to someone today, you'll be able to talk to them with remarketing for 10 cents later. Or, I'm just using very generic terms, but you get the general idea. What's going to happen is, especially in the United States, by the fall, hopefully we're back into recovery mode. Everyone's going to enter in back to the market and use the back half of the year to try to make their year not so terrible, right? Then you're going to have presidential elections, and the market, social media is going to get jammed up. All the advertising slots are going to get bought up and jammed up. If you get some traffic right now, set the pixel duration, I would set it, 180 days, 200 days at this point, even longer. You will be able to remarket to them when it gets expensive later. And also many of your customers are not ready to purchase today, right? People, it's depending on your business. If it's a discretionary spending, like a hobby or a nice to have, people will put it off in an uncertain market. So marketing to them like buy now may not work, but getting them while the getting is good is a good tactic. Here are just some, if you're putting together some remarketing lists. The Google Display Network, you need 100 active visitors over the last 30 days, sessions or users really. It's 1,000 for Google Search Network, it's 1,000 for YouTube, and only 100 for Gmail. But the Gmail, those impressions have to come from the Display Network. So it's actually pretty easy to get started. You don't need a huge audience to do these custom audience retargeting and remarketing. But the key is don't go with the defaults. Don't put something in there for 7 days, 30 days. Increase those durations as long as you can. In fact, with Google Remarketing audience list, you can actually, on display and search, the default's 30 days on those, but you can actually set a max duration of 540 days. I'm not necessarily recommending that, but you could and then switch it later, and you can always turn these off and on. But definitely, if you revisit your stuff that is on a very short cycle, sometimes, and I love those approaches where we're going to talk to somebody for 3 days while they're in market, and we know that they're in market. That's a great tactic. It's just not a great tactic right now. You want to be able to talk to these people in the fall or even a year from now, while you can get the traffic at pennies on the dollar. now's the time to do that. And then, but you have to have your marketing set up, your remarketing pixel set up. If you're not using like, Google for this, you could go and you're saying, well, I haven't never messed with that. Use something like AdRoll. It's very easy. They make it pretty painless. And in there, I think their duration, the max duration is 180 days. Somewhere around there, you can Google it. And somebody can correct me in the chat, but 180 days, 200 days, something like that, you can pop it up to. So when you're testing and remarketing, make sure that you're, just like anything else, change your creative. It's going to be a little harder in this environment because you don't want to be tone deaf, but change your creative, mix it up just like you would with anything else. The other thing to watch out for, though, is especially if you have smaller lists when you're building it up, is frequency capping. So set a frequency cap. If your IS or your impression share is getting way too high, it means you're being annoying. It means that you're following me around everywhere I go, and that's a little too, socially connected. And so typically 5 to 7 impressions per user a day is plenty. You can get by with 2 or 3. That's fine too. But just watch that frequency cap, because if you don't set it lower, you're going to be just blowing people up. And it's like, they got it. They're just not in market for purchase decision in this environment. The other thing is landing pages, making sure that your landing pages, if you change your creative, you need to change your landing page so that you don't lose the scent or the breadcrumb from the ad to the landing page. Everyone, you guys know that, but remember, many times you're changing the creative, you're changing the ad copy to be more COVID-19 appropriate. If you do that, you're going to lose the scent on the landing page most likely, because that landing page was very likely built in a pre-COVID-19 world. So make sure you update and tweak and review that landing page so that you're not driving them to a landing page that just doesn't make sense, but it used to. Okay, step 3.
Here,
Yes.
a small question to what you are saying right now.
Yes.
Whether it all is working for Facebook remarketing audience.
Oh yeah. Facebook's one of the best, and social media. So what we're actually seeing dips across all of our clients in paid search. So like Google search, paid search, that's dipping, meaning the amount of impressions, the available market that we can go and get is going down. But at the same time, Facebook, LinkedIn, TikTok, Pinterest is skyrocketing because we're all bored and we're all on our phones, right? We're all cooped up. So what you want to do is you want to augment your lack of Google search right now with paid social. And then, so the same thing, set your Facebook marketing pixel, the remarketing pixel duration, max it out, set it to at least, I would say, if anything you can set to 180 days or more, I would set it to it. You could always go back and tweak it. But yes, Facebook would be huge for this. And like I said, if you're kind of like wading into this and you're not really doing it, you use something like AdRoll to begin with. I have no affiliation with them, but they're user friendly and they can set you up with all of it, like Facebook, like anything you want. So Remarket, Twitter, all of it with a single embed code. If you want to do a little bit more advanced and custom, you can do it yourself on all these platforms and control it on all of these platforms. But yeah, Facebook is fantastic right now. There's so much demand out there that you can soak up some of that traffic and, like I said, remarket to them back when they're in market in the future. So it'll save a ton of money. It's good. Paid media is going to get so expensive in the United States in the fall, and probably in Europe in the fall as well. It's going to get ridiculously expensive. Everyone's going to re-enter the market and soak up there's only so many slots. So it's going to be a bloodbath for the small guys, because you're not going to be able to afford to get impression share when the big guys buy up all the ad slots on the back half of the year. So right now, take advantage on social, or even just picking your platform of choice. Like, that your customer is on LinkedIn, use LinkedIn, or Twitter. If they're that type of customer on Twitter, use Twitter, but soak it up now and benefit later. So
Thank you.
Double checking time. Oh, we're good. I only have one more section to go, and then we'll do some Q&A. Was there another question?
No, all good. You can continue.
Okay, so I have one more. This one's a little different. This is something we do with all of our clients. And basically, we start to think about, like right now, one of the things we're doing with all of our clients are SWOT analysis, where we're going through, strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. But one of the principles that we do at Brado, it's called Jobs to be Done. And we think about this. What outcome is your customer trying to achieve? And so when we get to that rebound or that recovery, I want you guys to start to think about this. And this is why I showed in the beginning those stats. They're a little general. You kind of already know them, like, hey, people are bored. These are the industries being affected. This is how people feel. This is the stress of it. The reason why I'm doing that is I want you to do that again. I want you to do it on your own. Use Google Trends. There's study after study being produced right now. It's pretty easy to get this information. The reason why is as we come out into starting recovery, okay, that mindset's gonna shift a little bit, okay? Right now, the mindset is fearful, survival, what's going on, and then just abject boredom, right? Which is probably what drove some of you here and made you stay for my 10 minutes of audio failure. But when we come out of recovery, the attitudes of your customers are going to change. But this is it's a dead simple, it's deviously simple on the surface. But I'm going to walk you through just a basic exercise of how you can get into the mindset of your customer and reverse engineer how you should speak to them. So the first question you ask is, what outcome is your customer trying to achieve? Okay, think about that for 1 second. I'm going to show you this beautiful, beautiful horse and hopefully give you an analogy that will make sense. This is not a historically accurate analogy I'm about to make, so give me some leeway. So let's go back in time in our minds, right? And imagine that people are traveling, riding horses to and from. That's how they're getting around. Not cars haven't been invented yet. Okay, so you're a marketer in this environment. What would marketing look like? Marketing would look like this. People would say, well, what does your customer want to do? Well, my customer wants to ride a horse from point A to B. Okay. Oh, okay. What else do they want to do? Well, they want to do it faster. Oh, okay. What else do they want? Well, marketing and innovation is going to look like this. Hey, you should get these new horseshoes. Why? Because it's going to help you get there faster. You should feed your horse mighty oats because they're going to be bigger and stronger and it's going to fuel you for the journey, right? That's how marketing would look then. And frankly, sadly, that's how marketing looks now. Like it's feature based and it's very product oriented. Remember the question I asked you to think about though. What outcome is your customer trying to achieve? It has nothing to do with the product. In fact, you should delete the product from your mind when you're thinking about the outcome. When I am flying back, I'm from New Orleans originally. When I fly back to New Orleans, the outcome I'm trying to achieve isn't to get on an airplane, it's to go see my family, right? Like to go hang out with relatives. So it's not the product. So going back to this horse analogy, then along comes someone like Henry Ford, invents the Model T. And Henry Ford changes the equation a little bit. Instead of saying, what outcome is my customer trying to achieve? Oh, they're trying to ride a horse from point A to B faster. Henry Ford says, no, your customer is just trying to move from point A to B faster. The horse is just the product. And when you think about the end goal of your customer and work back to your product, your entire marketing shifts. When we're doing our paid media campaigns, we divide our ad groups by the outcome steps that a customer is trying to achieve many times, not in every single case, but many times. So we have what we call job steps. These are the steps, are the journeys on the path to achieving that outcome. It's product agnostic. One of the classic examples from Clayton Christensen, who kind of came up with this, jobs to be done, or what is the outcome your customer's trying to achieve theory. His example would be, a marketer thinks that their customer needs a 1/4-inch drill, and the customer thinks they need a 1/4-inch hole. So the drill, again, is just a product. The horse is just a product. So when we come out of this, don't think about your product. Delete it from your head and start to write down, like literally come up with a list. What outcomes are my customers trying to achieve? And list them out. Like, understand them. What are the steps? How would they achieve that outcome? Boom, 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 boom. Then where does your product fit? How does your product aid in one of the outcome steps? It's a simple and subtle way of thinking about marketing, but it will put you head and shoulders above the rest. And that's one of the ways we've achieved really high efficiency scores. We're one of the smaller agencies to achieve a Google Premier partnership. And the way we were able to do that is our media spends are extremely efficient. How do we do that? We tend to talk to people at the right step in their job or the outcome they're trying to achieve in a way that we relate to them. We know that they're trying to achieve this outcome, and the product is just a tool or an aid in that process. There's plenty of books on this if you want to look. One is, it's a little tough of a read. It's by an engineer. His name's Tony Ulwick. And it's called Jobs to be Done. It's free. You can download it on their website. It's called Strategen. I would check that out. Clayton Christensen just passed away. He has plenty of books on outcome-driven innovation and jobs to be done. It's not directly tied to paid media, but it's been one of the things that changed my perspective on how to do SEO and how to do paid media was this concept of outcome-driven or job steps that your customer's trying to achieve, not the product. So with that, we'll go to questions. Like I said, I am at SEO on Twitter, so any SEO questions are welcome too. And I'd love to connect with you guys on Twitter. We got a lot of stuff coming down the pipe on COVID-19. We were going to release, we have a Twitter data set of 5 million tweets that we're analyzing for sentiment that we've collected. Lots of charts and graphs. We'll be talking about paid media, how to market, all that stuff. And we're just sharing our findings and advice. So be more than happy to connect with you on @SEO. And yeah, we have 10, 15 minutes for questions. So let's fire away.
Thank you very much, AJ, for such an actionable presentation, very actionable tips. I'm sure our participants got a lot to think about. At least I made my notes. Now let's move to the questions. You were talking about understanding clients' mindset and the range of their needs, and the questions show that this thought has resonated a lot with what people are concerned about right now. So there's a question. I've just started working as a digital marketing with a startup. Obviously, a lot has changed in the last 2 months. Our clients are in hospitality and construction industries, and which were hit the worst. How can we come up with better service ideas for our client base?
Boy, I thought I had bad luck. Yeah, those are hard hit industries, and people are feeling it right now in those industries. So we have a client right now. They're not a startup, but they're they're doing some new stuff that would be a bit of a pivot. They are in kind of leadership and training. They come into your company and do a lot of assessments like team building, a lot of working with HR departments and stuff like that. They're 100% shut down right now, right? So like they can't do their jobs. So what are they doing? Well, they are offering free webinars. They are doing their services remotely for free. Not everybody has the luxury of giving away their goods and wares for free. But my first thought would be to at least create one asset for that industry, because if you look at that industry, they're also stuck at home. They're very likely not in the labor force right now. right? So what advice could you give them? What webinar could you host? Can you co-brand a webinar with a client who maybe can't pay you right now, but they would love to do an event, something like this, But I would say you need to produce thought leadership materials that speak to where your customer is at right now so that you're top of mind for when they re-enter the market.
Thank you for the answer. We have some other questions coming. So they're coming right now. The question, is YouTube ads a good idea to get conversions? My website gets lots of traffic coming from YouTube, and I would like to test out 15 to 30 second ads. Any tips?
Yeah, we're actually having really good luck with 6-second ads or the 7-second ads, or whatever they're moving eventually we'll just be down to one less than attention span of a goldfish, I guess. But the 6-second ads are good because then that can build into a 30-second ad. But the 6-second ad also can be cheap and start to build up if you're going to go with that. Hey, my customer maybe can't buy it today, but if I talk to them, like YouTube right now is super cheap. So there's so much traffic on YouTube, and there's people exiting the market just like everywhere else, but it's really acute in YouTube. It's just blowing up the traffic. So you could go with that strategy of quick ads that aren't too expensive. And then the idea of either remarketing to them with longer ads in the days to come as a nurture journey, or depending on, I'm not sure what industry you're in, but if you feel like they're really not going to make purchase decisions today, you're just stocking up and set that remarketing pixel quite long. But you could do really well with those short 6-second, 30-second ads right now. And we're doing a lot of those. And also, to be frank, it's easier to recut a 6-second ad right now than it is a 2-minute one, right? So if you're looking at all your marketing assets and you're like, hey, we need a message or two that can resonate to a COVID-19 audience, 6 seconds, 30 seconds, that's the way to go, because you can go more volume really quick. So I like the idea a lot.
Thank you. And the next question, what would you recommend to offer for customers in current situation except for discounts?
And maybe you can, while we're talking here, maybe give me a little bit of, depends on the industry. But if some value add should be offered. Everyone is offering, so like SEO Moz, or well, I'm old, so it's just Moz now. They offered their entire training course for free. So that's not the only way they make money, right? So they didn't just make their service discounted or whatever, but they did have a value add. They said, oh, we have this one thing, we're going to give that away free of charge. Another thing that you can think about is just upgrades to your service. So if it's not a discount, but it's hard to say, you might consider that a discount. But I'm seeing a lot of people say things like if I was one of our clients is a internet provider. And one of the things that we were talking about is, well, what are the problems that your customers have? What outcome are they trying to achieve right now? They're trying to achieve connectivity with their family. They're trying to do webinars. They're trying to work from home. And what happens? Well, what happened to the beginning of this webinar? We have technical problems. We have bandwidth problems. It would be really cool of them to say, if you sign up for tier 1, we're just going to give you tier 2. Because that would help you out while you're in a work from home environment. And in a month or two, we'll bring it back down to tier 1, but that's a value add or an upgrade to a service they're already purchasing versus just saying tier 2 is 20% off. Also, that's a sneaky long-term play, because if you get used to the faster internet, you may not really want to downgrade again in the future. So there's a lot of thoughts there, but yeah, without knowing specifically, it's a little hard to ideate. One thing we're doing in SEO, and this is not necessarily like giving away a product, but we're making sure that when we have a landing page we're trying to drive a lot of traffic to for SEO, let's say it's an infographic or a big long form, we're doing what you call content upgrades. And so, and I think maybe Brian Dean came up with that from Backlinkios. I don't want to steal his terminology, but the idea being that if you have something like, so a content upgrade to this webinar would be the recording of the webinar, right? So you could get the recording by giving us your email. Here's the long form. You could get the PDF, printable PDF, or checklist if you give us your email. So like a little upgrade that you give away for free can be everything from a product, but also to a blog post in this type of environment.
Thank you. We have a couple of questions about the best way to address COVID-19 in the content. And there is also a question regarding the beauty industry, how we can use for a positive reason the coronavirus topics in our blog post, maybe beauty tips to survive Corona.
So, and what was the first one? So the second one was the beauty tips, and the first one was, could you repeat the first one?
Just generally, what's the best way of addressing COVID-19 in the content?
Oh, so here's what I would advise. So my previous agency that I owned and operated before it was acquired was a content marketing agency. It's all we did was content marketing. So what you want to avoid is being a me too kind of voice that gets drowned out in the sea of everybody doing the same thing. So the worst thing you can do is say, we should make a COVID-19 piece of content. What you should do is say, we have to make this specific piece of COVID-19 content because, and then have like a reason, right? If you don't have a reason, don't do it. And you have to resist the urge. Like the urge is like, well, everyone cares about COVID-19. Like, well, what are you going to do? Like, what are you going to start thinking like your customer? Again, like I said, what outcome are they trying to achieve? What can they not do right now? If you can do content in the lens of that and COVID-19, you have a winner. But small things, like if you just wanted, you're like, hey, I run a local business. We're shut down for a little while. Put up an FAQ page that is your COVID-19 response. It's really easy to do. Google gobbles up the FAQ format. FAQs are great for quick hits, especially when people have a lot of questions. Use question as your header and your subheader answer. FAQs would work really well right now. In the beauty industry, that's one that hasn't really been as effective. We have a client in the beauty industry as well. So that's doing really well. My advice would be, again, take the traffic while it's cheap. But that one, people are still purchasing their beauty supplies and kind of, we haven't seen that tail off. Just maybe a small dip, but nothing like some of the other industries that are, facing big headwinds. So I think health and beauty is a category that will weather the storm. And I think that if you had to be in an industry, being in the beauty industry is probably a pretty good one right
now. Thank you. We have a few other questions. As a marketing specialist, I want to offer free digital presence marketing assessment, competitor analysis, and campaign analysis to businesses. Which industries and types of businesses do you think would benefit the most from this kind of free services, considered in the circumstances? For the instance, my industry is management consulting and B2B high tech, and I want to offer free, no strings attached help to businesses who need it most right now.
I love it. Here's one thing I would encourage you to do first, though. I would encourage you to first offer your services to a local nonprofit organization in your area. And the reason being is, one, you'd be doing something good for your local community. Two, that would give you something to show the businesses that are local. It doesn't have to be local. Like if it's just do something on a national basis or something you care about. Could be pet adoptions. It doesn't matter what it is, but giving back to nonprofits right now is really a great thing to do. And if you could give of your talent and your services, now's the time to do that. So we're at Brado, our initiative right now is we're working on human trafficking and working with some algorithms to detect human trafficking in emergency rooms. And that's kind of like our give back project. But what's interesting as we work in health and life sciences a lot, when I can show people that nonprofit work and actually get conversation with them easier than if I just said, hey, look, I did this for this other business. Something about just the realness of it also is you don't do it for just so some business case, but you can kind of get both. It's an easy case study to share. You'll feel good about it. You'll do good for your local community. And it's frankly just, it makes it easy to share. And you'll be more excited to do it for free, I promise you. So I can't recommend that enough. And then if you want the industries, just look at the industries. Google industries with layoffs, and like on Product Hunt right now, they have lots of apps that you can show which industries have the most layoffs. That's where you should focus. Because anything that they can get right now that's a value add while they're struggling would be great. And if you can give away your service and thought leadership for free now, that relationship, basically you would be dealing, instead of getting paid, you're dealing in relationship capital. And you can exchange that relationship capital in the future if you're able to do your services for free right now. So I love that.
Yeah. Thank you very much for the answer, and thanks for the question, Tatiana. The next question, I'm a graphic designer and web designer. I'm a recent startup. What resources would you recommend for finding good marketing campaign language or finding ways to speak to my ideal client in order to run ads?
If with your skill at being websites and graphic design, I would really focus on user experience as my go-to. And so thinking about when you think about advertising, when you think about ads, think about, are they responsive? Get into the programmatic ads where the machine learning switches the ads for you. Look at mobile page speed. Look at all the different HTML5 ads, use the thing that you're really good at, the more technical side to your advantage. Don't try to do what everyone else is doing. Specialize in that would be my advice. If you want a really good blog on conversion rate optimization, Conversion Excel is really, really good. I read them all the time. They have great content. It's free. And I would double and triple down on my technical know-how and user experience when it comes to ad creation, distribution, and usability.
Thank you very much. We have a couple more questions. If it's
I have nowhere to go. So
awesome.
I have a Diet Coke. We keep going.
The next question is, what would you recommend to offer for customers in current situation? Well, that's well the answer. That's the same author for the question.
Yeah, and if we get we can go to the next question, but if they give a little bit more information, I may be able to spark to an idea more specific to their situation.
If you're listening to us right now, give us a bit more information, and we will be able to navigate the answer better. Is it a suitable time now for advertising in LinkedIn for B2B IT product?
Yeah, I think it is. It's just what I think it's suitable time for advertising everywhere. I just think that you need to know that industry. So let's say you were doing technology, and the B2B aspect was you sell into hospital systems. They're crazy busy, right? Like, that, I know that. But think about your industry first, and is now a buying decision time? Can your product help with a problem they're currently facing? That could change the dynamic greatly. So right now, if your B2B solution was Hey, we can make it so that you don't have audio problems on your Hangout, on your Zoom or whatever. Yeah. Oh, okay. A lot of people would need that because a lot of people are struggling. But if your product isn't like, hey, it's going to change a dynamic, a problem, or solve an outcome they're trying to achieve today because of COVID-19, I would be advertising more thought leadership, more of that type of stuff, and then do the long sales cycle play versus just, hey, get this product. Because I think you'll come up with a bad ROAS, return on ad spend. It'll look like a failing campaign. Hard to say without knowing the product, but again, like I said, can it help them achieve an outcome better that they are trying to achieve in a COVID-19 environment, then go to market right now and just do it. If the answer is not really, but it's something they might need, go the longer play. Do thought leadership, do content, ebooks, webinars, white papers, blog posts, anything that you can do, free consultations, anything that you can do that would be kind of like a micro conversion that they might be willing to do now, that could lead to a purchase decision when they're better equipped to do so.
The next question: how to drive traffic to a travel industry that will essentially miss its high season? And then they add to this some addings to this question. Where my booking prime time will not be for another year. This is a private website and not using Air or VRBO, as they are going up in flames with backlash. Well, basically the question is that, and there is a set of questions. What about industries that are struggling now the most? Travel industries, how to, surely there is a drop in the traffic, but how to keep them interesting for the audience?
Yeah, so you need to put yourself in, again, I'm a broken record, but it just, this is what you have to do. Put yourself in their position. So we have a client, and they only sell like hobby toys, like they sell remote controlled drones, but mostly like airplanes and like RC cars, like, the little, you control it and it's zipping all around. The problem for that, they're actually doing quite well right now, but one of the problems they could have would be, well, if you can't really go outside, it's hard to be flying an airplane in your house, right? So think like the customer. And so what we're talking with them about is things like, okay, and they call it RC, so remote control, RC cars, RC planes. So they're doing some series, making small YouTube ads, RC at home, right? So people are making, and they're using user-generated content of people setting up little tracks in their house, and one showing the cheaper models that you could get for your kids, because a kid is cooped up in the house, but mom or dad makes a racetrack with them throughout the living room, and they're running the little car through there. And it's an interesting way of changing the dynamic. If my business, let's say I can think of the worst business to be in right now, it would be all I do is book trips to Italy. Shit, right? Like that's not going to happen, and that might not happen for a long time. What would I do? So I would think about my customer, the people who had to cancel their trip to Italy. How can you have a stay in Italian night, a trip to Italy at home right now? This is how you're going to do it. Do a Google Hangout with your customers, an Italian night. And again, I'm making BS answers up on the fly, but you have to start to think this way. You have to start to think about, okay, well, if I sell trips to Italy and no one can go to Italy, what would we do? Could I start a community for people who are who want to go there and share your photos from your past trips and where you wish you could go right now, and like keep the dialogue going with a like-minded community? But you have to start to think that way and about the problems that they're facing, versus just don't think backwards. Again, we'll fall into the side of like my website, my product, my XYZ. And when you do that, you've already kind of lost. I find myself, I do it all the time. It's just your natural instinct to think like my blog, it's not. It's the customer and their problem, and can you help them or not? and can you help them get to that outcome they're trying to achieve. Everything else is just format or communications or a product. So I know it's hard to just ideate on the fly, but that's really what you need to be doing to have any chance in this type of market.
Thank you very much. As I understand it, the worst thing to do now is just to keep silence, or to pretend that nothing has happened, or just like not doing anything. Basically, like you said, that we should say at least something about lockdown or coronavirus.
Yes.
Generally, like. So regarding this, I have also some question. Some of our banner images on the website show groups of people together. Should we change those in light of COVID-19?
Yes, you should. That's exactly what I'm talking about when I say go through all of your marketing collateral and sanitize it for a COVID-19 environment. You have to just pause it. Just pause that one, right? And slowly start to build up a list of marketing materials that are COVID-19 appropriate. And look, this is going to go on for a few months. I mean, it's not like this is going to end next week and your efforts will be wasted. Your efforts will be rewarded because a lot of people aren't going to put in the effort, and they're going to keep running that same stupid ad. Not saying your ad's stupid, but you know what I mean? Like, just flick on the television right now and just watch commercials. How many of them, I mean, it's like people like right now in the US in St. Louis, it's getting warm. It's like 65 degrees out. It's nice. I can see the outside. I can't really go there, but I can see it. And it looks nice. But all the commercials are people like watching baseball or football and holding up beers and cheersing each other and then drinking them. And it's pre-COVID-19 content. Where the most impactful commercials, and I've actually probably watched more commercials than I have in a long time, are the ones that, even if it's just a simple message, 10 seconds, 20 seconds, it showed that they are putting effort in. I appreciate it. So the answer to that would be, yeah, I would just pause it for now until you can create something a little bit more in the moment.
And the last question for today. Should we change Google Ads bidding strategy in the current period, switch from manual bidding to smart bidding, or vice versa? Maybe you have some examples based on your clients.
Yeah. So, look, don't take any of my advice with a grain of salt. I'm not in your campaign. I would say right now is a good time for smart bidding because the traffic is high. And cost is low. So with smart bidding and any kind of that programmatic where the ads are changing based upon feedback, or the bids, you're letting Google kind of auto-optimize the bidding. It needs throughput. It needs a lot of volume for it to work. So there's one thing that will derail this from working though, and that is over-segmentation. So if you have, sometimes like you would create an ad group around this one like hero keyword that just makes you a bunch of money. It's almost like a one keyword ad group, or there's only 3 keywords in this ad group. Over segmentation can be tough for smart bidding and programmatic strategies. So if you're very segmented, I would stick with, kind of manual bids, or at least ranges that you control. But if you're going to give the reins to machine learning, you can actually group them a little bit more broadly so that it has enough throughput, enough sample size to learn. But right now, with the increase in traffic, it's a good time to do it. And also, if you think about it this way, if you can reduce the time that you're having to optimize ad rotations, bidding, things of that nature, what can you do? Well, you could fix your ad copy, you can fix your landing pages, you can fix your email messages, and all the things that you need to do to put a better tone appropriate stamp on it. So that's just some thoughts on that. But yeah, I think I would give it a shot for sure.
Thank you very much, AJ, for the quite a big session of questions, for answering most of them, and thank you for joining us today. It was really a pleasure to have you here. And to our participants, I want to remind that we have 4 days of webinars, and our next guest will be Josh Baczynski, so stay tuned and see you tomorrow. Thank you, AJ, again.
Thank you, guys.